I will thank you. Now, let me formally welcome you all. So, today is the 13th of September, 2025, and you're all warmly welcomed to our Constantism study class or study unification class, and this Saturday session. So, all our Saturday sessions deal with the question of African unification. And this week this Saturday, we will explore the rich and profound topic of indigenous knowledge systems. Our brother Pigeon has been in touch with potential speakers, and I believe, brother Pigeon, that we do have some speakers in the house. Is that correct? Is that correct,
I
brother
will
Pigeon?
personally speak, and I think Brother also have something to share. I have something also brief to present.
Okay, and brother Bongani is here. I'm sure our brother Bongani will be happy to also share something if he hasn't already contacted you. So we'll be dealing with the rich and profound topic of indigenous knowledge systems. In this session, as Brother Pigeon has widely shared with us, we will dive into the principles and practices of indigenous knowledge and their role in fostering unity and understanding. So I believe we have all come prepared for an engaging discussion that bridges traditional wisdom with contemporary thoughts. So welcome everyone. I shall ask Brother Pigeon if he's ready to do the initial presentation. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Brother Christian Kwame Agbotsa, come from Ghana. I live in the UK. I'm the chair of Constantism Study Group. We started it many years ago, first on the ground in Clapham South, where we were given a space by the West Indian Ex-Servicemen and Women Association. That's where we held our initial meetings. They were attended by some of us here. Brother Glenroy is not yet here, but he was one of the members who attended our on-the-ground meetings. Sister Amma, who rejoined us recently, was also one of the members who attended our on-ground meetings. Brother Michael, who no more plays an active role, also was a member, as was Brother Kojo, who first set up our WhatsApp group. So we have a long history, and then when COVID came, we moved online. We had always been concerned that the meeting on the ground in Clapham South in London wasn't reaching our brothers and sisters on the continent. So when COVID came, we then moved online, and we have been online since. And it was during one of these meetings that our own brother Pigeon joined us, and he then moved to now be our co-chair and virtually is our head of administration. So I'll give you a bit of that background because some of you don't haven't been here for a while. I was on the ground doing a research on behalf of CSG at my own costs on the question of Pan-African unity. We had some of that discussion last Thursday, when I shared a bit about it. So welcome. Brother Pigeon, are you ready? Let's remember that when we say indigenous African knowledge systems, not sure what your perspective is, but from my perspective, our indigenous knowledge systems are broadly the original knowledge systems on which some have called it the Egyptian or the Kemetic mystery system. Our brother George James, who wrote the book Stolen Legacy, has gone into depth to explain what the system was and how when Socrates was explaining it to the Greeks, he was accused of corrupting the youth and undermining their political economic system, and so they went for him and had him drink poison, and basically they killed him. And Plato was so angry, he turned Socrates' teachings upside down and created a hierarchy, a kind of knowledge aristocracy. Our indigenous knowledge systems, if you look at broadly at our African history, are both written and unwritten. There are some of the systems that today, if you go to the Volta region, there are sects, secret society that does not write its teachings, it's just passed on. The Gans also, Accra, they also have their own, again, indigenous system where the priests are both male and female. And what the Global Pan-African Congress do, which is having both men and women leaders, is something that is practiced in the Gang culture even up to today. We also are aware that the Akans also have a matriarchal system, and Dr. Job has in his works extensively explained that the African or sub-Saharan Africa, that you find that we share a common, if you like, social system, which is matriarchal. And the patriarchal system has mostly been imported from Arabs and from Euro Christianity, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about the African indigenous knowledge system, we're going to hear from us. We are not saying something that has had no effect on global social, political, and economic systems. We are talking about something that is alive today, even in some cases weaponized against us, and the current dominant Western liberal conservative elites that are sitting on the neck of the entire continent are in some cases, if you like, preventing our indigenous systems led by our indigenous African traditional leaders from expressing themselves. In Ghana, for instance, the constitution says that our traditional leaders cannot be politicians. They can be politicians, but the system itself cannot be politicized. So the entire knowledge system that is there is basically being oppressed and suppressed by Western knowledge systems, some of which were derived from us anyway. So welcome. We'll hear from everyone. We'll hear from those who want to present, and then we will open the floor for discussion. When it's about the middle of the session, we shall play the African National Anthem. It's the only one we have now. So if you have something different, please let us know. And yeah. So Brother Pigeon is going to start. You can see he's got Ethiopia on the screen. And Ethiopia, as you know, is one of the oldest languages on the planet. It ranks with China, with the Chinese language in terms of age, and it also ranks with Hebrew, which is also a very, very old language. Thank you, Brother Pigeon. Please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Brother Kwame. The screen that is being shared is from Brother Osu. So I don't know if Brother Osu want to go first, but okay. We had agreed that I go first and then he come.
Okay, I don't mind who
go
goes
first.
I don't mind who goes first, Brother Benny wants to go first, it's okay with me. If Brother Pigeon wants to go first, again, it's okay with me.
Mine will complement Brother Pigeon because I'm taking in the different cross-cultural, beyond African mixed.
Okay.
So Brother Pigeon will present first and then I will come in.
Okay. Although you can look at it the other way, that what you would also present will be complemented by Brother Pigeon. But that's fine. Brother Pigeon, so is that your screen, Brother Pigeon?
Yeah, that's my screen.
All right. Please proceed. We are listening. There are 13 of us at the moment in the meeting. Sister Shaza, welcome. Wickham Raymond Avatim, welcome. Sister Kanita, welcome. And then Albert Yambila Anamu, welcome. Brother Bogan, I think I've welcomed you already. If I mentioned, I don't know if I've welcomed you, but you're also welcome, Brother Bongani. Brother Bongani is based in South Africa as well. Thank you. Yes, Brother Pigeon, proceed.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. I'll request that you make Sister Ida a co-host in the process so that she can help us admit other members who are joining us.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so thank you very much. This is my presentation, but basically anchor this presentation on one of the book written by Dr. George Aiti, which is Indigenous African Institutions or Indigenous African Societies. Now, I wanted to borrow the element of what Professor Dr. George Aiti is presenting under Indigenous African knowledge in that book, Indigenous African Institution or Indigenous African Society. So in his book, as I've said, he challenges the narrative of African backwardness. And he actually reveals the sophisticated knowledge system that sustains civilization for millennia. So I want to do comprehensive exploration, how we can demonstrate how pre-colonial African society developed holistic community-based wisdom that modern African desperate need for rediscovery. I saw somewhere just today, it is Bishop Maponga. I don't know if I could be playing that video, but Bishop Maponga today was talking about this so-called AI. And he told them, he was saying to a certain group, this AI is African creation. We had all the technology so many years ago. So there's an element that there's a lot that we did, but I want to look at it in the lenses of what Dr. George Aiti actually talks about. So this presentation actually is part of what I did in terms of picking what Dr. Aiti did. Then I actually compile it into more of presentation in one of these sites where I just publish it using the AI website. So I just do the publication. So there's a link for this, which you can easily get access to follow up on this.
Brother Pigeon, before you continue, tell us a bit more about this gentleman. No, not all of us know who he is. George Aiti, I believe he's from Ghana. Is that correct?
Yes, he's from Ghana.
So he's pronounced Aiti. I know you are not Ghanaian, so yeah. Sorry, let me pause. Let me mute whoever is yeah. Sorry, if you know a bit more of him, can you tell us a bit more about him? Thank you. If not, just proceed. Thank you.
Now I've come across, I think somewhere today, well, one of the comrades was talking about Dr. George Aiti and some of the information about him, which I cannot verify, but I have interacted with Dr. George Aiti through most of his works. So particularly most of his books, like there's a book within the Pan-African Reading Club that we review every Saturday, which is called actually Defeating Dictators. I know he has written about African Chain. He has written about this Indigenous African Society and so many other writings. I know he was part of what I've read about him. He actually, one day when he was staying in Kenya here in an hotel, his hotel was attacked. He was actually in, what do you call, somebody who is running like a refugee or a political, something like that, because he was an intellectual and some of the writings were not cool enough with that generation or that government by that time, which some of us here from Ghana can easily tell us about him. But that's a little information I came across. And I think he died in around 2018 or 2019. But as I've said, I have only interacted with him extensively in some of his works, which are also available in our Pan-African Library. I think 5 of his books, we have them in our Pan-African Library. So that's briefly what I can say about him. I was trying to look for an extensive short message that I got about him. but I cannot trace it now. So unless there's anything some of us can add from Ghana, those who might know about him. Sometimes I don't like, I'll put it clear, I don't like his, in some elements of his capitalist mentality, especially when you talk about free market in Africa, and when you advocate for privatization of some of the institutions in Africa, rather than nationalization of some of institutions, which we actually reviewed in one of our Sunday classes of his book, which I totally don't agree with. And I also have an issue in some of his books where he's calling that book Defeating Dictators, and particularly what makes a dictator. So there are a few issues that I don't agree with him in that extent, but here I will refer to him in some of what he has written about the Indigenous African society. So that's briefly I can say for now, because I'll not be able to trace what I'd say about his general history. I didn't expect that question, but I was having something on that sort. Brother Kwame? Brother Kwame, is there anything I can proceed?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, Brother Pigeon. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. I just thought you would say a few things about him. But as you mentioned that he was a refugee, it came to mind that I may have met a gentleman in Ghana at the economic. There is a AEA. There's an economic organization, an economic society organization in Ghana, and I think I may have met him there. The matter you are referring to, I think, is during the Rawlings regime. He left Ghana as a refugee, and he is an economist. That is correct. So yeah. So thank you. So George Aite was a brilliant, provocative thinker who provided, some would say, a powerful Africa-centric framework for understanding and defeating dictators, as you have said. And he did indeed leave Ghana because he felt unsafe during the Rawlings prolonged rule. And it was after Rawlings' presidency, when John Ajikun Kufuor was in office, that he returned. And when Kufuor won the 2000 elections, that is when he returned. Let me stop there. Please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Kwame, for that additional information, which is, I think, is very helpful. So I want us to look at what he says about African. So the first part is the crisis of rejected heritage. So part of it will look at knowledge, not in terms of only the process of education, but even look at the medicine knowledge we had. And our brother also will also focus on spiritual knowledge we had, because when you talk about indigenous knowledge system, we are not only looking at academic work process, we are looking extensively even economic knowledge we had, and we look at the entire society, because we believe that the entire society is run through some knowledge. So knowledge cut across and should not only be treated as an educational or educational class setup knowledge. So if you look at the post-colonial disconnect, is that Africa contemporary crisis actually stem from a fundamental rejection of indigenous institutions. In his book, the Indigenous African institutions, he based much on the institutions we had before. Now he says that our crisis currently is because of what we rejected the indigenous institution in favor of these imported systems. Now the colonial disruption and elite imitations have created a devastating disconnect between African leaders and their cultural heritage. So there's an element of what colonialism has impacted in our education system. And he also talked about the elitism, which I know Kwame Nkrumah tackled a lot, as also a serious challenge to our knowledge system. So there's issues that then led to economic collapse and governance failures. That has also resulted to loss of traditional wisdom and values. It has also led us to too much of dependency on foreign aid and development. then also erosion of community-based problem-solving solution. So Ayiti, allow me to read or pronounce his name like that. He argues that enormous education expenditure have failed to boost agriculture or even resolve crisis because they ignore the practical wisdom that was embedded in our indigenous knowledge system. There's another lady that has actually written the book, Local and Indigenous Knowledge, as a thesis. You saw what I had provided in the poster. That yellow snapshot is from that lady's book. And I actually contacted the lady, but it was a bit late. And she was supposed also to present to us. But she said that she's having a birthday today. She's called Joy Nendwa from Swaziland. And she's willing one day when you have time again to invite her to also talk on her thesis in regards, it's a thesis and a whole book in regards to indigenous knowledge system. I think Brother Devine is here, Devine. If you're around, you can also be able to share the work of that lady in our chat on the indigenous knowledge system. But I have her contact, so we'll invite her also sometimes. So Dr. Iti argues that enormous education expenditure has actually failed to provide solutions to what you're going through because it has ignored the practical wisdom that was embedded in our knowledge system. Now, there's a critical gap, which is the post-colonial elite who possess foreign tastes, but they lack the cultural knowledge that is needed to solve local problems. So spending more time on debating causes than implementing solutions. That's what he says. Now, if you look at the foundation of African knowledge system, we have kinship-based learning. Now, knowledge was embedded or is embedded in communal structure where wisdom flows through daily practice, through the beliefs, and even customs, rather than the formal written text. That's very important. The knowledge in our system actually flowed through practices. Your daily practice was part of knowledge. Your belief and your customs were part of knowledge. And there was now interconnected worldview, where philosophical understanding that ancestors, nature, and the living existed in harmony. This informed all knowledge transmission. There was a collective welfare focus. Now, individual rights exist, but they remain subservient to community needs, with the knowledge system reinforcing cooperation over competition. So it was not about who is the brightest person around, but our system of knowledge, whether you're knowledgeable in spirituality, in medicine, it was not on competition level. It was not about who is the best, but it was rather about cooperation. Now, the Fanti proverb actually captured this essence. The Fanti proverb says that if you do not allow your neighbor to have 9, you'll not have 10. Now, this wisdom promotes cooperation and mutual prosperity. So knowledge was also passed through proverbs we hear. So this was actually contrasting sharply with the Western individualism and revealing the sophisticated social engineering that was embedded in our African thought system. Now, the village was the university. So we didn't have too much of this current building called the universities, but our village was our university. The indigenous knowledge method. So the community, our indigenous knowledge method was community-centered learning. The African says it takes an entire village to raise an African child. That was a reflection of a comprehensive education philosophy where knowledge transmission actually occurred through multiple channels and life stages. Now, if you look at that structure of the knowledge, the first phase was about early family training. That is either between the age 6 and 7, moving to 8 there. What happened during this process is that the mental arithmetic and issues like animal identification, plant knowledge, and survival skills, like either climbing trees and even evading dangers, form the foundation. So the very foundation of our education was about mental arithmetic. Now you will also be taught about animals. So you'll be told, this is this animal, this is that animal. So animal identification was part of knowledge. You also had to know various plants. And about that, you also to know survival skills on how you can be safe. Then there was age group specialization. Now here was about peer learning, which was through structured age groups that teach social cooperation and collective responsibility. And the third level was about craft and mastering, where specialized training in healing, blacksmithing, pottery, and trading through apprenticeship system was actually encouraged. So you now start specialists, whether you want to be a healer, blacksmith. There was that also specialization in the society, because the specialization was also based on the societal need. And lastly, there were what you call secret society initiations. Some of these current secret societies, and I've read it somewhere else, didn't start in Europe. Probably they only changed the intention of the secret society. But secret society, a group of some people could carry the secret of the society, existed before. But when maybe it was taken over, and what they now use it for their purpose is what may be different. So here there was where advanced knowledge transmission for cultural preservation and spiritual understanding were always actually passed through in this secret society initiation. So you'll be passed through, or you'll be taken through some knowledge transmission for cultural preservation. You are also attuned to spiritual understanding. In fact, the Baka Pygmies exemplify this system. Now, using the rainforest as their classroom, where children master biology, botany, and chemistry, not in the current name they call them, but they were mastering this by identifying hundreds of plants, whether you could call that botany. They could extract medicine, whether you could call it biology or chemistry, and also understand natural poisons for hunting. This was practical knowledge revivals, which university degrees now are taking up, but it remains undervalued by modern systems. Now, if we go a bit on the proverbs, which I've said that most of African knowledge also was passed through proverbs. So proverbs were actually the DNA of African wisdom. There's a wise wisdom which says that a little rain every day will make the river swells. The proverbs were used to pass knowledge. And for example, that could mean that it was teaching about perseverance and the power of consistent effort in building wealth and character. And most of the time, some of us, you go meet the elders in the village, but they will only give you one word. And some will say, one word is enough for a wise man, because the elders could speak in proverbs. But in that, there was a lot of knowledge passed through the proverbs. There's also a Yoruba philosophy which says that heaven help those who help themselves. Some people will say that where is that? But it was also in the Yoruba's philosophy. That was actually promoting self-reliance and personal responsibility as a foundation of success. Now, if you look at the modern relevance, is that the moon shines so bright, but it's still dark in some places. This is actually critiquing educated elites who lack some cultural understanding. So those proverbs encode sophisticated ethical systems. They were addressing everything from economic independence to health awareness. There's a Kuranko concept of mogoye, altruism, and lembe, which is the respect. It defines a true person. So as one exemplifying social ideals, while unsociable individuals are labeled as bush people. This was also reinforcing community bond through linguistic precision. So there were things to do with economic wisdom. The Ga customs, for example, link protein intake to a child obedience and industriousness. So using food distribution as an educational tool that teaches the connection between contribution and reward. If you look in health awareness, the ancient proverbs warn against hiding diseases. Wisdom particularly relevant in modern challenges, like now when people say if you have maybe HIV, you should not hide your status, come out, and those are the things. But there are grades and storytelling. So storytelling was also the second and most powerful way on how we pass our education system. Now, actually, the storytelling was the living library. So where we could put our books, where we could store our libraries, where we could refer to the what happened, they were actually the storytelling. And some will say, which books did we write? But they were in our stories. So if you look, for example, there were professional memory keepers. Now, Goetz, for example, serves as oral historians with extraordinary memory. They were preserving history, events, and even moral lessons across generations and through captive narratives. Some of us I know miss the old days when you were in the villages and you could sit next to your grandfather or grandmother and to story time. We didn't have the TVs to go watch the soap operas or the current whatever. I'm not that old, just as a note. I'm very young, but I still got some time a bit as a young person to enjoy some story with my grandfather somewhere when he was taking his own things and he could give me stories. But there were also stories about animals that were very important and they were actually carrying some wisdom. So these stories used animals as teachers. In fact, the Ashanti spiders were symbolizing cleverness or folly. The Kuranko hares represent ingenuity, while hyenas embody stupidity. In my community, for example, they always have a famous story. And I know some of my members I see are from one of my community, and permit me to recognize some of them. Like I've seen Brother Orlando Simba, who was with us here, maybe he has left. Is actually from we share the Luo community. And in our community, they will always tell us some short story when I was young of the hare. And they could say that it goes like this. Apoyo libi moti, which means go do some work hyena. Then hyena will say, my leg is limping, but I have some pain in my leg. So the hyena doesn't want to go do some family chores or even go fetch water. But when they tell a hyena come and eat. No, the hare, when they tell the hare come and eat, the hare could come very fast running. This was some few things that we could laugh at, but basically they were showing some information in our society that people don't like to go work, but they like to eat. And therefore, it was passing message to us that we need to go work first so that when we come to eat, we feel something about it, we appreciate it. Now, there's now modern preservation. When you look at contemporary growths, for example, I've transplanted traditions to places like in the US, they're ensuring that cultural continuity despite geographical displacement. Now, I'm almost ending. When you look at the parable of King Jojo, I don't know if some of you have come across the parable of King Jojo. I'm not so experienced on it. But an Ashanti story tells of King Jojo, who actually copied a neighboring king left-handed eating without understanding the reason the other king had with that right hand. It's a very interesting story, but I know some of us have come across it. I might not be able to explain it now, but I know people have come across it. Or you look for it, the story of King Jojo. Now, the Jojo's blind imitation actually led to his dethronement. It was serving as a powerful critique of African leaders who are down for any system without understanding their context or necessity. Now, these lengthy stories could actually take 10 to 15 minutes, and they required attentive listening, with the children retelling them to siblings, ensuring that knowledge transmission while developing memory, communication skill, and cultural identity. The tradition creates a living library, and that adapts to contemporary challenges while preserving ancient wisdom. Now, I want to look at this last part in terms of knowledge in line with medicine. Because the biggest knowledge we actually had and we still owe the world today, and the knowledge that has been actually stolen from us up to date, is the medicine knowledge. When now the whole Western countries today convert it into what they call mainstream medicine or what they call it, that knowledge was with us. So the health revolution, there was traditional medicine renaissance. And I think the Pan-African Parliament have now accepted the use of herbal medicine as an alternative. But let's see the potential of this. Actually, 80% population served. The percentage of Africans who rely on traditional medicine for primary healthcare needs. Across the country here, we still come across the Maasais in Nairobi who sell the medicine. Now, the ratio is that the healer ratio. We have so many healers in our communities, but they're not actually accepted in the mainstream system. So we have a ratio of 1 to 290. The traditional healers per population in Uganda was around 1 to 290. There are so many healers, but this was compared to their so-called doctors. In Uganda, the doctors are actually 1 to 10,000. But look at the healers we have, 1 to 290, which means we have a potential of many people who understand our traditional medicine system, if we accept them, can also help us. Now, the dollar is the estimation of around $2 treatment cost, the average cost per traditional healing session, making healthcare accessible. But you know how much you pay in medicine or in hospitals today. Now, the post-independent dismissal of traditional medicine also as a quackery ignored a sophisticated healthcare system that continues to serve the majority of Africans. And the World Bank reports now affirm healers' very crucial role in combating things like HIV, with many extended patients living or lives using the local plant remedies. So I've focused on healthcare a bit because here is where there was a lot of also knowledge. Now, Ethiopia relies on medicine plants or medicinal plants for most of healthcare delivery, while Uganda successfully integrates healers for HIV prevention. This upgrading traditional healers prove far more cost-effective than expanding formal medicine systems, a pragmatic approach to universal healthcare. I remember some times back, Brother Kwame will remember, when we were approached by some of our friends in Swaziland, when there was a serious crisis, there was no medicine, and the medicine that could be found is actually in some clinics or now in chemistries, as it is in most of African setup. And those chemistries are also run by people in government or even the government itself. And therefore, the majority of people are dying because we are either depending on one donation of medicine from abroad. And we are thinking, how could we be able to then integrate or educate? Because we were approached by one of them, I think he was a nurse, graduate who was still doing his nursing course. But we were thinking, how could we then link these so-called nurses who are about to graduate with our people or professional or Africans who are knowledgeable about herbal medicine or so-called plant medicine, so that they can now infuse that knowledge to this generation of nurses so that they don't have to wait for medicine to be imported, but rather use the plants that are available across the continent so that the plants could help them to treat their people, rather than seeing the people dying in the village because you're waiting for medicine donation from somewhere else. While the plants are all over and those medicine are made by the plants. So that was something that also came up to us, but that also shows the power of our knowledge system that we had. Now, there are success stories of this integration of medicine as I've been talking about. You look, for example, the Senegal Prometra, look at the Cote d'Ivoire integration, and you look at Uganda's Theta. There's also a very good transformation approach that's going on in Tanzania, which is the traditional alternative medicine group. And it has done a lot in terms of the impacting those who are actually might be able to have some medicinal problem. Same thing is also happening in actually Zambia, as objectives and successful stories about this integration. But there's a global recognition. It still go back to this. If you look at the Indian Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, which actually digitizes over 100,000 remedies to prevent biopiracy, including yoga poses. Now, this is around $2 million investment, but has promoted commercialization while also protecting heritage from multinational exploitation. These are some of the ways you can look on how we can make this better. You look at the Nairobi Declaration, which happened in 2000 and actually declared the 2010 as the African Traditional Medicine Decade. This is just all concentration about now our knowledge in medicine level and in the medical field and what it can help and all that. But let me go straight to what's the path forward. We need actually to revive African blueprint. That will go beyond health to comprehensive knowledge revival. So our indigenous knowledge actually extends far beyond medicine. As you can see, it encompasses ecology, there was agriculture, there was governance, and even what now they call sustainable development. It was there. And as I said that when we look at knowledge, indigenous knowledge system, we don't need to look it in a narrow approach. The whole society surviving some knowledge. Every practice in society is informed by some knowledge. So Haiti, that is work indigenous African institutions, was actually trying to revive various institution knowledge process in the continent. And some of the recommendations include actually, they need to re-educate the elites. Like what we wanted to do with the Swatini graduates, the nurses, so that we can actually bridge the gap between formal education and cultural wisdom, and to ensure that leaders understand their heritage. There's also legal recognition, like what now the Papa has done with the herbal medicine or the healers, and what has been going on in so many other countries I've mentioned above. There's also need to protect heritage. We need to implement intellectual property rights and prevent biopiracy of indigenous knowledge. And lastly, because we talk about the whole aspect of integration, we need to create partnership between traditional and modern systems rather than replacement. Now, there's this proverb that I've read before, that the moon shines so brightly, but it's still dark in some places. This actually proverb perfectly captures the irony of educated Africans who remain disconnected from the wisdom that could illuminate their path to sustainable development, if you want to call it. Now, the Haiti in his book actually is calling for common sense and return to roots. He's actually advocating for not as a regression, but as a progression toward a future that honors African heritage while also embracing the beneficial innovation. As you look at the backup means in environmental wisdom, the traditional medicine, we look at the resilience, we look at the proverbs ethical guidance, we look at the storytelling, all this actually offer a lot of foundation for either the peaceful survival of the society, talk of it an environment, or even authenticity in the world. So the choice is very clear. We either continue imitating foreign failures or rediscover the indigenous institutions that sustain our society for civilization for millennium. And that will be my brief presentation for now. Thank you very much. Sorry for taking too much time. Back to you, Brother Kwame.
Yes, thank you, Brother Pigeon. Don't be sorry. It's okay. So I believe our second speaker is ready. It's Brother Benny. But before Brother Benny speaks, Brother Pigeon, can you make the link for us in terms of today's theme, the unification of Africa? So can you just briefly link what all you've said to our unification?
Thank you, Brother Kwame. I think the most important thing in terms of our indigenous knowledge system or the unification of Africa is that if we could go back to our indigenous knowledge system, which irrespective of where you were, proverb existed, and proverbs taught almost same message, whether it was in Akan, whether it was different in Luo, but it was trying to give same message on how we could run our society. And therefore, in the process of our unification of Africa, the key element is if we have to unite Africa, what is the space for indigenous knowledge in that African that is going to be united? Are we going to use the Africa unification in the context of contemporary society, or are we going to take the element of what is in an indigenous process, then put it forward to the unified Africa today in terms of progression rather than regression? And the biggest thing is that if we could embrace our knowledge system, which was actually uniform. Today, if you talk about the knowledge system, some call themselves from Oxford, from GSAE, from which college. It doesn't unite us. Some speak from, I don't know which curriculum on what curriculum. But if we could look back to our indigenous knowledge system, it's the only thing that can unify us in terms of how we can even upgrade it, rather than now having people who are either calling themselves educated from the Portugal's Anglophone, Francophone, or whatever you want to talk about. But this will be us from our own roots, and therefore it can bring the element of us being united as a people, because that is where we came from before we come to this division. Thank you.
So, thank you. So, just a last question. So, in terms of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, how do you think our indigenous knowledge systems can link us with contemporary technological advances for us to catch up with the current leaders, for example, in AI, and if you like, compete with them or even beat them at their game? because the unification of Africa must have as its center also, apart from our social and other knowledge systems, it must have also a role for science and technology. Thank you.
I'm trying to look at something else when I was talking about the process of learning. And what you can say is that when you talk about medicine and the teaching about the plant knowledge and everything else, which current medicine do not originate from plants? So basically, it's just the modification of how we use the plant knowledge we had for medicinal use. If you look at what we are talking about in terms of the animals and how we could take care of the animals, and those now today studying what you call botany and many other things, it's basically the upgrade of that. So what I can say is that the only thing we need to look at this particular moment is identifying, even in the process of integration, we want to be global society. Even as we move to the global society, we need to carry with us who we are and our traditional knowledge. So things like agriculture knowledge existed. We did agriculture even before this modern agriculture. Things like now the current governance system, the democracy things we're having today, or whatever you want to call it, it existed in our society. So it's only thing that when we want to copy the contemporary process, we must ensure that we have the knowledge of where we are coming from. Because if you're trying to plant to ourselves things that are not rooted to who we are, then probably we might end up failing. And that's the problem, that we have been trying to migrate things to our society from the West or copy them, but then they don't work with us. The only thing we need to is to domesticate them. So look at where our knowledge was. For example, mathematics didn't start with the white men. We were doing mathematics before, even if we were counting cows. But now it's a complex mathematics. We knew when the moon would be setting and maybe all those things. Those were the scientific knowledge that they never knew. If you look at the Dogon, they had the knowledge that these people don't have today. But only if we appreciate that and then see how we can modernize that to the current setup, then we can compete. But if we go to the competition, the global world, well, we forget our roots, then we are very vulnerable in that competition. Even if you work out and win, will no longer be us. We will be people without their roots because we've forgotten our roots in that process.
So you're saying that African unification must be rooted, must, if you like, sankofa to our indigenous knowledge systems. Thank you so much. I think Brother Benny is ready, but before Brother Benny speaks, I'd like to welcome General, Sister Ama, Brother Ndlovu, Sister Chisomo, Brother Joseph, Wekem, who I hadn't welcomed earlier. Just so you know, Sister Ida, Brother Benny, Brother Bongani, and Shaza, Brother Windhoek, I've made you all co-hosts, just so you can all support. I'm not sure who admin is. It's a name admin. I don't know who he or she is. If you can change your name, brother or sister admin, that would be really helpful so we can know who you are. Brother Benny, please proceed. Brother Benny, unmute yourself and proceed, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. What I'm presenting is an article which I have published online and I have taken part of it to share. In fact, I have started an institute that is researching into our African traditional systems. We started last year, and currently we are we have 2 other researchers, 1 manager, and also we have trustees, board of trustees, and then we have patrons. So was it just last month, August, we had a partnership project with Durban University of Technology, which we look at African spirituality in the higher institutions, because a lot of students are going through a kind of awakening, and which there are times conflict with their academic work. So from the presentations, they saw the need that we need to partner with them to help them set up, structures that can enable counseling to be introduced into all the various faculties to deal with this issue. The fact is, despite colonization and its impact in terms of religion, and then the Islam also, which even came far ahead before Christianity arrived, yet they haven't been able to eradicate our systems as they sought to do. And for that matter, was it in Zimbabwe 2018 that why is there I heard that Zambia University has started some studies into witchcraft. So that moment, I remember that I had initiated a discussion on witchcraft in a Facebook page, a group called Founding Members. Maybe if some of you might have been members, I don't know. And from there, I drafted the business plan for it. But then I had to get back to South Africa because Zimbabwe, to start such things, the cost and the bureaucracy and all kinds of things. But South Africa is a bit easy. So I had to come here to start it. But we were only able to register it in 2022 after the COVID. And we couldn't implement until last year, July, that we are actually into operation now. And we have our website. I think this article, what I'm presenting will be found also on the website. I try to post the link at the comment side. Yeah. So even though on the website, the title is a bit different, it is Awakening for what? Spirituality, socio-economic transformation, political thinking, and sovereignty. Yes. I wanted to check whether I am right with the topic. But here I have adapted it a bit as African Indigenous knowledge in the 4IR period, awakening for what? Then it will look at spirituality, socio-economic transformation, political thinking, and sovereignty. What I did in this paper is to sort of enlarge the scope of spirituality, not only as an African thing or African system, but the Southern world generally are all spirituality. And it is the North, which is Europe and America, that see the South as, they call us cultic, occultic. They use all kinds of terms, satanic and what else? Some other words that they use to defame and make our belief systems negative. But as we are going to look at this, we will see that Asians have advanced, not because they have learned, but partly also some of the principles they apply in terms of innovation comes from their philosophy in terms of their spirituality, teachings and the rest. Yeah. Demystifying. What is it? Okay, let me. Yeah. Please, somebody should help in terms of admitting. It's coming here. Demystifying awakening in African and Asian context. African spirituality actually implies a communal well-being, which is based on our philosophy as Ubuntu. And because of this philosophy that we have, in fact, we will find that Africa is the continent that have welcomed people, and we've not killed them to eat them. We open our doors because we see every human being, once they look as human, we see them as us. And therefore, we don't even think of making food out of them. You go to Asia, there are a variety of Asian traditions, but I narrowed the scope to, they have what they call Nirvana, which comes from Buddhism, and then also Dharma, which is Hinduism. We have other traditions like the Confucian and the Taoism, and a lot of them, Shintoism, but they have certain commonalities, but that is not our interest today. We go to places like Bhutan, we find that they have actually found that their belief system helps them to improve in the way they live as happy people. I'm trying to, yes. These principles have practical implications such as shaping governance and fostering ecological stewardship. So we find this Bhutan gross national happiness as a framework which prioritizes well-being over economic metrics. So well-being, as the West would put it, in terms of what your GDP is and the rest. For most of our serving world, it is not like that. Of course, I think years back, there was an NGO. It's a Christian NGO. They conducted a survey in Uganda. And from that survey, they found that the urban people are not happy, but the interior rural places that we will call poor, and they are into their own traditions, were found to be the happiest within the survey that they conducted. See, indigenous practices shape governance and ecology. But before I talk about that one, we have to recognize that these traditions challenge Western notion of awakening or religion as solely personal or metaphysical, instead emphasizing its role in building resilient, equitable societies. So you find that in the Southern world, what happened is we value high context in terms of communication and relationship. But in the North, what you find is individualism, whereby your matter is not my matter. There's a gap between us. And I remember when I came here and I was living in a white suburb because I had to be at the university, and I have to rent within the same area, and the university is within the white suburb that time. And I lived there for about 6 years, but within the 6 years, ask me how many people greeted me and how much did we interacted. I mean, it was just like you are in a cemetery. And I later saw that my landlord talked to the neighbors, not across the wall, but just on phone. And that is their nature. But in Africa, you will find noise. I mean, you go to your neighbor's home to say hello, what is happening? I mean, that is, unless in this period that somehow the encouragement of individualism is actually also has made its way, and we have seen the harm that it is causing within our society. spirituality as a catalyst for socio-economic transformation. Yeah. Ethiopians have a system called community-based communal aid. This system has been instrumental in pooling resources for funeral cost, disaster relief, and education. This model reflects African spirituality emphasis on collective responsibility. In Asia, Mahatma Gandhi Savodaya movement, deeply rooted in Hindu spiritual principles, advocated for rural development through self-reliance and non-violence. More to that, Gandhi envisioned a society where economic systems were decentralized and wealth was distributed equitably, aligning with the principle of ahimsa, which is non-harm or non-violence. Then we come to 4IR opportunities. Here we look at Africa. 4IR presents an opportunity to bridge these traditional systems with technological advancements. For example, in Kenya, mobile banking platform M-Pesa, rooted in communal values, has revolutionized financial inclusion, particularly for marginalized communities. Besides that, in Rwanda, adoption of tech-driven agricultural solutions inspired by indigenous practices has transformed rural communities. The challenge lies in scaling such initiative across the continent. African spirituality emphasizing shared prosperity and ecological harmony can guide the development of socioeconomic policies that prioritize sustainability and inclusivity. So, in fact, we can see that if we are to have the freedom to carry our own local knowledge as which we know in our mother tongue. In fact, the ability that we would, the things that we would be able to do would be amazing. And the example is what we see today in East Asia, with all innovations making them overtaking the West. And why the West is not able to catch up with them is because that the Asian approach to development is based on their culture and traditions, not a template from the West, but is rooted within their culture that I will call that inside out. And for that matter, it is not easy to copy them. And in as much as we talk about this also, we find that the West is going down because the West destroyed their primary traditional religions to put in Christianity, which is something else we cannot talk about now. And because of that, so many things are going wrong in the West, despite their campaign to polish themselves clean and as the best. But we all see, and today we hear in the social media and the media all together. I hope I didn't jump more than, let me check this previous. Okay, correct. Awakening political thinking and sovereignty. Here we look at 4 factors, which is projecting independency and fostering self-determination, the concept of awakening must also challenge the political structures that hinder Africa and her sovereignty. Here, awakening refers to how indigenous systems have become important today in Africa. Brother Pidgin mentioned some of them, so I don't need to repeat all that. And we find that there's an association of it's called National Association of Traditional, National Association of Ancestral Venerators. Ancestral, National Association of Traditional Ancestral Venerators. And what they want to do is to come with a new educational system, structure, model, which is not going to replace what is there now, but it will be a parallel in that we are going to rather teach what Africans should know based on our traditions and our culture and our, what we call it, belief. Well, if you say belief, it is more or less, it may not be true, you see, but what we know is what we want our children to know. And the aim is that they want to make our next coming generations become innovative and be able to, be like the Asian side, our counterparts in Asia, and not be, we don't remain as consumers of what other people make and toss on to us.
Brother Benny.
Yes, time.
No, I wasn't to ask you, will another 5 to 10 minutes be enough for you to finish your presentation?
Okay, I think I have about 3 more slides to go.
Okay.
So I will just explain here.
So will 3 minutes be enough? A minute for each slide?
5 minutes is okay.
5 minutes, thank you.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. So please carry on. Thanks.
Yes. Yes. Let me jump this side because I think some of them, Gasasa, we have heard of it, how Gasasa in Rwanda, the Gasasa system, which is based on the Rwandan tradition, was used as a court system in settling the what we call it,
the genocide.
The genocide in Rwanda. Yeah. Yes. The role of awakening in the 4IR era. More than tech about social transformation. It's also helped to leverage, we leverage spirituality for innovation and sustainability. I've talked about it a little while. In fact, to emphasize again, Asian progress is not something from the sky. It is what they know that they have developed it. And if we also would be able to develop from our traditions, we will be superstars. There are certain solar projects in India, which also has been started based on the Indian philosophy and what else? Digital tools to preserve African spirituality and culture. These are the things that now we need to direct our children and some of our schools that would be willing to incorporate the African spirituality. And when you come to South Africa, especially the province where I live, it is actually something which is happening. School children that are being revived, something that is moving, that they want to be Africans. They want their culture, they want their tradition, they don't want the West. It has also got other practical significance in terms of holistic well-being, mental, spiritual, social, traditional healing. Of course, with Brother Pidgin has talked about that. Mindfulness in terms of Thailand for mental health, educational, integrating spirituality and skills, which Ethiopia, and then here South Africa also, it is something that is the government is looking at. apart from that also, South Africa is one of the countries whereby we have a special, I think it's a unit for indigenous knowledge system. And because of that, government allocate funding for indigenous knowledge research through the universities, you see. So South Africa has, in fact, at the moment, I will place them more advanced in terms of incorporating African traditions and African knowledge in a lot of ways. And that freedom to also do it, because not all African countries today still give recognition to our indigenous knowledge system in terms of, when you talk about it in terms of spirituality or whatever way, they don't actually, and even sometimes people that show themselves out as spirituality people can even be chased out or be persecuted. So to conclude, collective action, awakening our indigenous systems, a collective action, not abstract, something that they tell you believe, but it is not real. For us, it is what you see that you, so it is what we know. It is not a belief at all. Align spirituality with socioeconomic transformation. And then also, we find that we can reclaim our sovereignty and drive inclusive growth through our own knowledge systems and spirituality. 4IR is an opportunity for Africans that through our spirituality and indigenous systems, we can come with diverse innovation that would not only challenge the West, but also, help to contribute into the world that is advancing in a way that we can reverse it. But as I spoke at DUT, I think 2 weeks ago, I told them that if you talk of spirit, whatever, sometimes people get confused that it's 4IR and those things are this, something that we should embrace at all. The point is, how do our phones communicate? Do we have lines? No, but they are communicating. Isn't that spirit? So we need to also disabuse some of the things we've learned from Christianity, which the Europeans never believe in some of these things, that even spirit is there. They saw the human being as a body. But we Africans, we have a lot that the Europeans have to learn from us. I think I will have to end here.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
So, thank you. Before we proceed, I have 3 questions for you. Briefly, what is 4IR?
Oh, sorry. Please forgive me. It's 4th Industrial Revolution.
Thank you. And what do you define as spirituality?
Spirituality is an experience of the world that you live in, physically and spiritually.
Okay.
Which makes sense to you, and
thank you.
which you measure also your existence and your daily activities.
Thank you. Finally, so in terms of what you've told us, can you link that with our unification theme? So as you know, our Saturdays are about
that is important.
Africans to unite. So can you just link it briefly for us? And then we will hear the African anthem, and then we'll open the floor because we need to hear what our members have to say, or the visitors or those who are here have to say about what they've heard so far. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, so please proceed. Thank you.
Yes, we need, you see, for Africa to advance now, we need to be more innovative in the first place. From our own basic knowledge. Of course, was it yesterday I was reading, where was that, or was it on one of the social medias, that almost like everything that the West pharmacy are doing, it is something they've collected from here that they are doing. So in this case, who should tell us that what to do? It's more or less telling us that we have to free ourselves by coming to our systems And if we have our systems should guide us to shape the integration that we want and the unity that we want. This should come from African knowledge, which actually is our Ubuntu and not fragmentation. Thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you very much. Let's hear the African anthem, brothers and sisters. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Now, brothers and sisters, the floor is open for questions, contributions, thoughts, and so on and so forth. Who would like to go first? Okay, since no one has raised their hand, I will call someone to go first. Brother Wangani, can you go first, please?
Well, thanks, brother Kwame. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, you are.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the presentation. Very much instructive. I mean, I've learned a lot there. You know, it's very interesting. However, then I don't have the whole day to. Surely you have a reason to ask me to come first. I have no doubt that the two speakers articulated the indigenous knowledge, of which it is true that we had this wisdom. I took note of your question as to how then do we integrate this to areas like science, engineering, etc. I think he responded fairly well. I saw that because he talk of medicinal. I mean, everything comes from plant, etc. But now, in line to what you talk of as a theme, I think what is fundamentally, I think that really, even the guy, the latter speaker in South Africa, he talk of South African universities. There is still a bit of a crisis there in terms of, because this talk to decolonization of education. Now, when you deal with the issue of decolonization of education, there is always an issue of language. I think that's where your question was premised. How do we then integrate this? Because in so many times, it comes in our indigenous languages. And we intend not to really teach them, teach it in a foreign language. Now, as for the indigenous knowledge, in line now to what you call it, the theme of unification, I think what we have to look critically is how do we understand of languages like Swahili, etc. But we have so many languages in the African continent. And the more the languages, the lesser is the development. That's a trick. The more the languages, the lesser is the development, because it tends to be an encumbrance to the communication, because for development to happen, there must be clear communication. Now, what we have to look at critically in that respect, as far as going on with decolonization, is the harmonization of orthographies of African languages, so that we can have a situation where at least in few regions in the continent, a particular few languages are used in teaching, so that now we have a space for our indigenous knowledge to be integrated there. In so doing, then we deal with the issue of decolonization. That then will bring in this the so-called indigenous knowledge system. So that harmonization of orthographies of indigenous, in African languages. For example, in South Africa, we have 11 languages. We can have 4 languages in South Africa. I'm saying written languages, so that at least people can be taught things like science in the sense of the modern days at university level easier with their languages. So we have that sort of written language with the harmonized, official language that has got a harmonized orthographies. That is one. And now, two is this from a governance point of view now. This indigenous knowledge that is so rich, that is required, that we know that it really eliminates all this crisis that we have here, like matters of governance. You see, moral respect, etc. We know African people, this sense of moral respect. So the communal aspect of it, that we as African people, we're more communal. I think the first speaker emphasized on that. The communal aspect always go with the spirituality, and that spirituality, to a great extent, assists in self-sufficiency. African people, they plow, they breed more cows and so forth, and then after that, then they praise the ancestors for the achievement. That spirituality, and emphasize hard working that currently in these days we struggle with. Now, this is about cultural revolution, comrades. Now, African continent requires a cultural revolution. Now, where do we premise this cultural revolution? Embedded by the indigenous knowledge system. That, of course, it's through the lenses of spirituality, of communalism, and of self-sufficiency. Now, what are we gaining out of democracy? Now, because now we have to institutionalize this thing. When you deal with democracy, it's not all bad, but it's always bad. But what do we do now? How do we house this indigenous knowledge system and all the things that I've just mentioned? Traditional leadership are fundamental. Now, how do we then deal with this traditional leadership setting? Now, it's always my suggestion that traditional leaders, somebody mentioned that, should they be part of politics or so? Yes, traditional leaders, most of the African countries, as we call it currently today, they don't have a sense of a sovereignty. We don't have, in so many, particularly a country like South Africa, that is very integrative, that is very diverse. We don't have core values. We have a country like a field, but we don't have core values. The rainbow nation that is being sold all over the world is a bit of a hoax. It's deceiving. So you need these core values. Now, the core values in all African countries need to be under the custodianship of the Senate, I always call it the Senate where you have the so-called people like the traditional leaders, the spiritual leaders, Zangoma, the prophets, and then you need to have your native intellectuals. And those people, I always emphasize that we call them the phronesis grouping, the people of exceptional wisdom. That will be then the custodian of these core values. And these core values then are supposed to be to make sure that they preserve the culture, they preserve the issue of the land. Now, what I'm saying here is we have that group, and of course then there's traditional leaders there as torchbearers in that. You have the native intellectuals as real guardians, sort of to guide in terms of what needs to be done at the time, etc. And down then we have political parties. So we allow the concept of political parties. Now, the political parties must operate under the realm of the Senate that I'd say is a custodian of the core values. The core values there, the driver there is the culture, and the driver there is the issue of the land. And the culture and the land is deriving its wisdom from the ancestral belief. Therefore, then we have a spirituality that is a driver there. Spirituality that we know that we draw our wisdom from, and all these things that we're talking about, that is the indigenous knowledge system, etc., then is housed there. And then we allow then the politics at the just below that to build roads. To politics must build roads. Political parties must build roads, must build railway lines, must build all the tangible things. But matters of spirituality, matters of culture, matters of indigenous knowledges must be sitting with the so-called, that I call it the phronesis, the exceptional wisdom people that are not elected. That is traditional leaders, that is the prophets, that is Zangoma, that is Abefundisi, what is it, the religious leaders, that is your native intellectuals. And then in so doing, then it will take us closer to the African unity, because now we're Africanizing our countries in a uniform way. Then in doing so, I think we should be getting closer, supplemented then by the harmonization of the autographs that I've talked about, so that we have common languages in certain regions, so that this indigenous knowledge system, it can be taught across, and then we have this richness that has been presented here today. Thanks, Brother Comrade Kwame. My apologies for taking too long.
No, it's fine. I had actually been hoping when Brother Pidgin sent the requests around that you will do a formal presentation for us. So thank you for your presentation and contribution and your thoughts. One of the things that we need to be doing as a group when we meet on Saturdays is to come up with position papers that we can distribute widely. We haven't been doing that because the work has been left on a few of us, and recently Brother Pigeon has had to bear an enormous load. So if anybody here wants to help us and have the technological skills, please come forward so that you can help us do a few things. We will share with you what it is we want to do. One of them is the position papers. Another one is to break down our Saturdays into at least 2 to 5 minutes chunks, at least the most interesting parts anyway, and then distribute them widely through Instagram, through TikTok, and so on. Because you will not believe that there are young Africans who have not even heard, they don't understand what Pan-Africanism is. They don't know about it. Nobody has had an in-depth discussion with them, and so on and so forth. So, Brother Bongani, thank you very much. If you like to prepare paper for us for wide distribution, it will be welcome. I was wondering if you have published anything on this. So for those who don't know, Brother Bongani is a researcher as well, and he also publishes widely. So if you have published on the topic, Brother Bongani, if you can share with us in the chat, that would be great. As is in line with our tradition, let's hear a female voice, please. So can Sister Chizomo, is she still here? Sister Chizomo? I think I can't see her. Sister Chizomo? Okay, so Chizomo is not here. Sister
No, she's
Ida.
just left now.
She just left, yeah. Sister Ida. And then we'll come to Brother Windhoek.
Oh, I was hoping it wasn't going to be me because I'm not quite sure what I got out of indigenous systems.
Okay.
I wish I would have liked to hear Sister Chizoba because she's always got something she can link it to on ground.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, she's already left.
Yeah,
So
ground roots.
yeah.
But because I couldn't link it to any particular indigenous system that
Well, beside that, what about the Ga indigenous system, the priesthood? Where
well, yeah, but you
there's a
see
male and
that's
female priests, and the Homowa
yeah.
festival, as you know, is a celebration of that. And nothing will be done in Ga culture unless a woman is present. So the man and the woman,
Really?
yes, that is a tradition. That is why the Homowa festival is overseen by both the female priest and the male priest.
Oh, and
Similar
they
to,
decide the times and stuff
yeah, the
like that.
Homo. Sorry, yeah,
Mm.
during the Homo, and that is what the GAC is actually practicing. But
Yes, but you see, apart from say homo war when it's like breaking the fast or whatever, hooting at hunger,
mm,
I think how I really can't fully I can't place it with things. I mean, recently, I think it was this morning or yesterday, I was listening to Kwesi Pratt laughing at the fact that I think because of the helicopter crash, there's now going to be something about asking people to who might feel they have powers. I think someone said they'd been trying to get hold of people who actually crashed in the um, helicopter to warn them. So now there's going to be an office of um, oh, what is it? An office for
for
if
spirituality,
no, it wasn't spirituality. It was like prophecy, an office for prophecy. And I'm
yes,
thinking, what? Anyway, it was,
for
so
prophecy.
I think maybe that has messed up my mind as well because I really can't see. I'm
Mm,
not linking it fully to things on the ground that I see done.
mm,
Maybe farmers, maybe the way they plant or whatever, if they plant by the moon or but I think that's more American. So I don't know. So I think
okay,
I've said more than I can. I'm stumbling.
that's all right.
Thank you.
That's
Sorry.
we're all here to learn. So let's hear a male voice now. So Windhoek.
Hey, greetings.
Greetings, brother.
I have also missed the boat. I can't tally in spirituality and indigenous knowledge system. Maybe if someone can expound a little bit more on spirituality, because Brother Benny said
Yeah.
spirituality is how you experience the world, the physical and the spiritual. Can someone just expound a little bit more on spirituality and try to tell it in indigenous knowledge systems? And
So
again,
mm,
would you contrast spirituality with Christianity, or would you marry them? Are they
okay, so
complements, or are they
okay, so brother Wino,
complements
you are
or
asking, yeah, brother Wino, you're asking for some definitions. So let's go back to, shall I say, the three speakers, so that they can just give us brief definition so that we are on the same page. So let's start with Brother Bongani, since he just spoke recently. Brother Bongani, what would you define as spirituality? Okay, Brother Bongani.
Thanks, brother. It's easy to, I learned something today when you ask the colleague, I think, who presented first, what is spirituality? And you just also caught me. It's easy to talk about spirituality. It's appropriate when it says, but it's easy to say spirituality. But then you say, but what is this spirituality? Well, I'm trying what spirituality is you see, an individual is called we have a human being is got four components. There is a body that goes with a soul. The second one, then there's a mind that goes with the intelligence. So you have those four. If one of those, that means you are incomplete as a human being. Now the issue of the soul now tends to link very close to the spirituality. Now, African people generally are people of the Western medicine tend to heal the body. We as Africans, we believe that you must heal the body and the soul. That means then I think the spirituality comes in there. Now the soul spirituality, there's a thin line there. I might be corrected by the colleagues here. So spirituality then is that because now the spirituality, it has to do with you, your emotional part of you, but how do you heal that? In our context as African, and I'm a Xhosa speaking person in South Africa, we go in front of the kraal, in the front of the kraal, and we talk to our ancestors. And we are fixing our spirituality. Thereafter, we have the drive to do whatever we have to do. So that is the spirituality I was talking about. That even brings hard working, etc. So I'm not too sure if it's difficult to give a real concise definition. Yeah, but I'm trying to give a view of one to understand what we're talking about. Thank you, brother, for coming.
Yeah, that's okay. Now, thank you, Brother Bongani. Brother, to help Brother Windhoek. Benny?
Are you?
You want me to come in?
Benny?
Yes.
No, wait, let Benny also define it, and then we'll go to Brother Pigeon, and then we'll come back to you. Brother Benny.
Yeah, you see, Africa, unlike the West, the serving world generally, we look at things, we don't separate into parts. So this reductionist view of spiritual things came with colonization in terms of Christianity and partly also Islam. But if you take Africa, indigenous South America into Asia, everything, I mean, there's no separation. You can't say that today you are in this country and today everything is one. So your whole life activity, when you sleep, you are dreaming because you are in the spirit. When you wake up, you are more conscious of the physical world. You see, so we may not have a specific definition, because that is why we talk of African cosmology, or maybe serving world, we deal with cosmologies. Christianity, as I've already mentioned, is very, very academic type of religion, which came from breaking whether the universe or the Bible doctrines into bit, separating God here, putting. So they themselves are coming. In fact, the word Christianity is not in you. Welcome, you know, in UK, Christianity is no more anything. America is struggling with it to contain it. That's why they want to use all manner of force and tramp to to actually restore, but it's not going to work. You see, because the people don't have value inside. There's nothing again. It's just like a can which is empty inside. The doctrines are archaic. They don't actually fit into contemporary world. But if you come to Africa and then the Asian philosophies, you find that they are the ones that are giving the answers. You see, coming with views which fit into, make people feel that they are good. And many Europeans have gone to the Asian side. They said that Africa, we haven't written, we haven't organized ourselves. So they rather go to Asia. But if we organize ourselves to teach, they will be here to learn. Already, Dr. Sooms, he's an American, he's a doctor. He came to Swaziland. He stayed for about, I think, months or a year to learn this. And he's written a lot of books trying to tell the West that actually spirituality as Christianity and take spirituality in a different way, but totally we call it a flawed way of defining it.
Okay, thank you, Brother Benny, for your very comprehensive view of it. Brother Pigeon.
Please, there is somebody there, Nana Yao. In fact, he is the president of NATAB, and I told Brother Pigeon that just now that if he wants to present.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know. I'll come to Brother Nana Yao in a moment. Brother Pigeon, as you presented, what do you define as spirituality?
Brother Kwame, it was not central in my message.
It wasn't. Okay, no worries. No worries. Brother Winhope, what you've heard so far, has that answered your question?
In a bit.
Okay. All right, that's okay then. Thank you. Do you want anything else to add?
And Brother Kwame, is spirituality a religion?
I haven't presented on spirituality, so that should be directed to those who mention it.
Yeah,
but if you ask me philosophically, from the point of view of conscientism, the spirit is a category of matter. So spirituality is just a word. It's like a noun, if you like. It's like a noun, but essentially, what we call spirit is a category of matter. And brother Raspala, who is here, General, has in the past told us that spirit is just energy. That's another word for energy. That's what the physicists call energy. So yeah. Yes.
You see, religion is as it came from the West and the Middle East. It's more like institution with their constitution, beliefs, this, that, arrange what you need to do, what you don't have to do, and all those things. In fact, which year? 1991, or was it 1990 or 91? I remember that time I was doing a theology and we were asked to interview rural people who don't have anything with Christianity. And we wanted to know their concept of sin. There was no concept of sin in Akan. I don't know, I mean, ever side, but I can't do. But I did, and how many people? About 20 people. And what they talk you find that there's nothing like sin. Only that if you do something like a taboo that you are not supposed to go to a river, you are not supposed to go here, and you do it, it's a taboo. But there is no definition because people live by conscience. Okay. So I have been written a paper which I will. Maybe another time, but I'll publish it and give the.
Thank you very much. We only have 10 minutes left.
So religion is an institution which is set with others, and then religion also Christianity say that they are searching, whereby the others in the southern world we don't search for any God because we are part of a whole system, so we don't search for any God. And we don't get saved. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much for your listening. Let me go to Brother. Yes.
You're correct. Philosophically, it's a spirit, it's an energy, but in an African sense, we activate that, right? So the rituals we practice that form part of the indigenous knowledge system, they activate that energy. That is why then I was talking of laziness relatively to hard working. So how do we activate our spirituality? Like I've said, I stand in front of the crow and talk to the ancestors. So everything we deal with, we say we take it from the ancestors. Now it becomes spirituality. Then it's easy to be confused with the religion, because the religious people pray for whatever they think of. Then they start to say they gain energy. African, in our context, our spirituality, we draw it from our spirit, rather. We draw it from the ancestors. I think that's where the confusion might be. Sorry to be slightly.
No, it's okay. So just so you all know, these classes are ours. Yeah, we organize it every Saturday. So if we feel that a topic has not been exhausted, and the members here want us to extend it, we are happy to do that. So if members here feel that we should extend this to another session next week Saturday, that is fine by us. We can do that, especially when I'm hearing that Brother Nana Yao wanted to present and he hasn't presented yet. So can I ask Brother Nana Yao to please say a few words and whether he's happy to present next week, because we've run out of time. We only have 8 minutes left. Thank
you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. I bring greetings from Ghana and from NATAV, National Association of Traditionalists and Ancestral Venerators. I would have loved to do it in 5 minutes, my presentation, unless there's still not time. I actually have to stop over somebody's office from Menchia to ensure that I could be part of this program.
So,
but I've
that's
really
fine. That's
enjoyed
it.
And I'm enjoying the spiritual.
Yeah, but Nana, we have 8 minutes left. So if you want 5 minutes of that, that is fine.
Yeah, it could even be a teaser. If I'm not done, then we can. It will give us something for next week. Yeah, so I'll share my screen and then start something very fast.
That's fine. Yeah, please proceed.
Okay. So of course, I'm presenting something on artificial intelligence as a synthetic version of our African spiritual system. I actually call this in Ghana we call in the Ashanti they call it bosom. In the voter side they call it voodoo, and all sort of names, other kind of names have been given by the Europeans. But the background of this thing is that we have been programmed for a very long time, and we have been kind of given a set of understanding about how things work, which does not resonate with who we are as Africans. Now, I want to look at artificial intelligence, which has gotten a bigger name in our society now, against Nananum Bosom. Nananum Bosom, for those who may not be able to understand, is the deity, our ancestral deities. When you go to other regions in Africa, there are many ways that these deities are consulted, whether through the carries that the Ifa system, whether in possession or through divination or other things. Now, I would have loved us to watch this short video from one village in Ghana, a boy who was asked to do, what do you call it, an artifact. He presented something he called ancient deity. And it was a surprise to everybody in the school, because for them, a boy like this should be a Christian and not to be talking about African spirituality. For time's sake, I will skip that. Then let me look at a few things I would like to talk about. Understanding AI in modern science, introducing Nanan Mabosum or African spiritual intelligence, comparative analysis of both, and then implication for development. Problem with the mainstream narrative is that AI has been given or credited with to the Western science. This has ignored indigenous technologies and metaphysical systems, which disconnect African from its spiritual and intellectual legacy. You see, the question everybody asks is that, what is AI? And what if AI is mimicking something that is ancient or bigger than itself? Of course, artificial intelligence is a machine system that imitates human thinking. It learns from data, meaning that there is a data set for it to learn from. It functions through programming and algorithms and machine learning. And of course, most of us know some of the applications like Siri, Google, ChatGPT, and then Self-Directed. So within artificial intelligence, we have a program that is the ability to learn and lessons from human, and it is programmed with algorithms that makes it be able to program itself, and then a deep learning that helps it to imitate what it has learned before and then relearn them. The capacity given by human to machines to memorize, learn from experience, to what we call AI, meaning that it has a bigger limitation. Now, if within the system of what do you call it, in the three-dimensional world, if you are using a mobile phone and you want to send a word UHAS, this is the binary code that if you don't get your message and you want to check, this is what you get. Only you could give you this binary codes 101010101. H will give you this and so on. I just want to let us know the language the system speaks. That is from one mobile phone to the other within our three dimension. And here, when we go back to, when we go further to Nananumabosum or our African deities, we will not be talking about a communication within the three dimension, but communication from other dimensions like the 4th, 5th, 6th dimension to the 3rd dimension. This is where the difference comes from. You want to tell somebody you love the person. This is the binary code you get between the intercommunication within the 3rd dimension on our communication networks. Now, then what is Nananumabosum? It's a sacred energy embedded in material forms. Sometimes can be wood. Look, one of the things you have to know is that when we talk of Nananumabosum, we are talking about something organic, nothing beyond that. Spiritual interface between divine realm and human consciousness. Communicate via sacred human medium like a comfort or divine, which downloads information from multi-dimensional levels, unlike within the three-dimensional communication. Now, comparable to a cosmic smartphone, downloads and decodes infinite wisdom from different dimensions. No limit to database. If you look at what I presented within the AI system, taps into spiritual and ancestral consciousness, and it's using sacred human, as I said, for earpiece, mouthpiece, lens, printer, everything is the human interface. Now, this is an example of Nananumabosum. If you want to just look at one, let's look at just a short comparison. Talking about futures, on the base code, the artificial intelligence uses binary codes like zeros and ones, but the Nananumabosum will use spiritual frequencies, vibration. I was happy to hear that we understand spirituality is energy. Now, what does the processing? The silicon base for the artificial intelligence, but with Nananumabosum, the bosom, the sacred human, the comfort or the diviner. I mean, Nananum side can be very dynamic depending on the society you are talking about. Talking about intelligence source, here artificial intelligence has a big data. If you ask a question that is outside the data, you won't get anything. But with Nananumabosum or our ancestral divine, we have divine realm ancestors as cosmic field. What is the interface? The artificial intelligence will use mobile phones, laptops, and all the other gadgets that are used with it. Then the Nananumabosum or the ancestral shrine, ancestral deities will use a shrine, ritual, sacred spaces to create its interface. What is the programming? It is human programmers who put systems into the artificial intelligence. However, the ritual initiation, the ancestral codes that are directed by the energies to their divineness and their akonfo creates the programming, which links interdimensional communication from the energies to our third dimension. What is the output? Microphones and speakers and screens are used, while human beings, separate human beings that. Now, the hypocrisy is that African traditional spiritual system has been demonized. Some principles behind the AI algorithms are monetized. Meanwhile, these ideas do not come actually from those who program them. It is stolen from African spiritual system. Politicians and pastors secretly consult Abosom, but publicly denounce it. I mean, most of us from Ghana will know that when it's getting to election time, you see a lot of queues at our shrines. Disconnect from ancestral system is a developmental strategy. If we take away what we need to know from our ancestors to develop ourselves, then we are limiting ourselves, because other nations, like Mr. Barnier presented, are consulting their energies for development. Now, the sad thing is that few people who can patronize our shrines, they go there not for favors, not for things that will improve the society or their lives. They go for things that are very minimal, like asking for energy that will help them to get nice girls and all sort of things. I mean, they call it in the local language for girls. I mean, a charm that will help him get a lot of wives or beautiful ones. I mean, we don't make good use of our energies, those who know them. Now, what is the implication for development? Reclaiming this knowledge system will help us build technology. When we recognize spiritual traditional system as value source of information, it will help us to innovate. Now, to integrate ancestral wisdom with modern tools will help Africa transform dramatically. Spiritual intelligence can drive ethics, sustainability and development, and scientific innovation if we make very good use of it. This is what I'm trying to talk about. We can consult the energy, our ancient energy, to build the future. You look at my right, consulting the ancient energy. You look at my left, then we'll use it to build the future. Call for action. The academia, we should study bosom as metaphysical technology. The government should declare a public holiday for traditional, the generation coming to know about our ancestors. The youth should embrace indigenous innovation and then rethink AI as a synthetic echo of the sacred system that has existed. For me, artificial intelligence is a latecomer to a reality mastered in a sacred groves and ancestral altars. Thank you very much. Sorry, I was so
it's okay, brother. Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. I noticed you speeded through it. Please put your contact also in the chat so Brother Pigeon can get in touch with you. If it is okay with everyone, we can have a second session on this very topic. Brother Yao, one question for you. So
go ahead.
Yeah, the problem I see is that, as you rightly said, there are systems for we have systems on the continent and in Ghana, where I also come from, where we can tap into ancestral knowledge, and so I know that they can ask questions, and the ancestors can answer them. The problem, Brother Nan, is that it is not democratized. You see, not all of us can access it. You can't just access it. Whereas with the mobile phone, we can all access it. So the democratization of the technology is a central issue. How would you address that?
Yes, I'm very happy you have brought that, but I would like to understand the limits of democracy we're talking about here, because
sorry, if I may say it.
I should actually say
no, what I mean is that anyone who can buy a mobile phone can access AI. Yeah, as long as you have a
I think then that should be more expensive than consulting a deity.
Yes, but the point I'm making is that not all of us can consult a deity. We have to go through particular individuals.
Say again, you have people to.
We need to consult the deities through someone, the diviner or the Okomfo. Yes.
Yes, the same thing. I mean,
so in that sense, do you think it is democratized?
Yes. You cannot communicate, use the artificial intelligence without the mobile phone. Than buying a cola or a bottle of wine to consult a deity. Then I think the African traditional system of consultation is more cheaper and available, more democratized than even the modern technology system.
Okay, thank you very much. Because of time, we'll leave it there.
Yes.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. As you can see, we haven't heard from more of us than we normally do. Brother Koko, for example, had his hand up, has been able to speak. The time is 9:07, and as you know, we always try and finish on time. We do not like to go beyond the time we've advertised. So let me take the opportunity to apologize to all of us for going beyond the 9 o'clock, the 2 hours and 2 hours, 7 minutes. And so, brother Nana, like I said, be in touch with us so that we can see how we can organize something else for us.
All right, Christian.
Thank you. I would like to ask brother Pigeon to now come in and make the announcements, and we bring the meeting to a close. Thank you very much.
So thank you all, and thank you, Brother Kwame. I think, is it to the public accord that we have a part 2 of this next week, or do you have to take some time?
It's up to those here. If they think we should, then we'll do that.
Yeah, okay. Sister Ida?
It'll be good to hear Brother Nana's what he had to say slower, because it was very good, and I don't think we're being fair to him just to have to hear it in 2 minutes. So thank you.
Thank you, Sister Ida, and thank you also. I see Sister Kanita also accepting and proposing the same. Now, comrades, I'll get in touch with you. And as I usually do, when I do the notification, I ask those who are willing to do presentation to actually notify me. So as I'll be getting in touch to part 2 of this, please prepare in advance to notify me that you want to do a presentation, and then we can actually slot some time for you. So we'll do a part 2 for this probably next week. We were supposed to do a review of the AFTCA implementation program. But I think this will be very helpful because also, as Brother Kwame has noticed, is few of us who have contributed unlike our tradition. So that's okay. I'd like to inform all members, and I think Brother Kwame has also said that the work we are doing is for the collective Africa good. And therefore, anybody who is capable to share any of their expertise, skills, or time to help us do this, please get in touch with me or Brother Kwame so that we can see how we can work together, irrespective of where you are, but how can we work together to ensure that we do something in this line? I know we are doing something in our capacity, but how can we build it up together? So please get in touch in regards to that. Now, all these recordings are always shared on our YouTube channel. If you have any objection for us not to share it, also get in touch with us. If you feel that there's any word you've said that you think should not be for public preview or for public consumption in future, basically we're keeping them as records for the future for anybody who can check back and say, this was what these people thought about what they were speaking. And that's why we have the speeches of OAU in 1963. If you have a concern, always get in touch with me so that I can be able to take your concern. Your concern, safety, and priority is our first priority. So get in touch with me. I will share all this recording by the course of next week. And then I will request anybody who is not in our contact list, please get in touch. I'll get through Nana, also through Brother Osu, and anybody can get in touch with us anytime. Where you saw the invite link, please get in touch with me if you want to be part of this more and more. Without much ado, I know we have already gone past our time. I'd like to notify you that we have a main class, which is always on Thursday, which is the Consciousism Study Group. This is where we do the study of the book by Kwame Nkrumah and the philosophy and ideology for decolonization of Africa called Consensusism or Consciousism. So please, if you also wish to be part of that, it's been our tradition for the last many years. Get in touch so that you can be part of that class. We have a library. If you are requesting any book, we have a Telegram channel where you can access over 7,000 soft copy books written by Blacks or about Africa, including some of what was said here, History of Africa. We have all of them by UNESCO, from 1 to 4 to 5 History of Africa. So please also get in touch. Brother Kwame, I'll just take it back to you for closing.
Yeah, that's fine. So, Brother Nana, you heard it from members. Members would like you to do a presentation next week, if it's okay with you, where you will take your time and explain in detail. All right. So that is it. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Brother
Yes, brother. Yes. Who is speaking? Is that Sewin Hawk?
Can we get another AU? Can we get another AU anthem? Can we get another AU anthem that has got an Afro beat with African drums and harps and those things?
Yeah. Okay. We'll have that next week. Thank you very much. So, brothers and sisters, it's always been a pleasure to have you with us on Saturdays. Yeah, Brother Kanita, Sister Kanita, sorry, Brother Coco, Albert, Bongani, Nana Yao, General Ama, and Lovo, Brother Fanello, Brother Joseph, Sandiata, Moni Ratu, Santua, Sister Shaza, Brother Benny, Sister Ida, Brother Pigeon, Winhawk, and myself. We'd like to thank you all. And all those who will hear us on YouTube, we greet you and we are pleased that you are listening to us. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for sharing. We look forward to seeing you next week, Saturday, for session 2. And those of you who can join us on the Thursday when we have the philosophy class. And as Brother Pigeon said, we also have the Swahili class and then the defeating dictatorship class on Sundays. So good night, everyone. Bye-bye.